Welcome to
Split the Defense,
where Jordan Webster, Ted Evans, and Craig Pearce talk about the NHL and all things hockey.
Split the Defense
Can be found wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. It's also broadcasted on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, and online at CJAI.CA.
Hey, what up and welcome to Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans.
All right, so for today's idea of North of the Blue Line, it comes from Doug Jeffries, who, if you're a listener and you're not from Kingston, he's a bit of a broadcast legend here in Kingston.
Absolute legend.
Yeah, 23 years on the radio, 23 years on TV covering sports on CKWS. We even gave him his own day. It's June 15th.
Yeah, Doug Jeffries Day in Kingston. Amazing.
Yeah. So I have a little bit of a connection to Doug Jeffries through my dad. They have this little coffee club where they make all of the decisions for the Leafs, and they definitely they debate everything Leafs and I think Blue Jays too in the off season. So yeah, it's a little group of them that all get together. So I think that they were talking about our show, and so Doug Jeffries had this idea for us.
Wow.
He wanted us to rank the 7 Canadian teams, 1 to 7, and I'll go through their records just so we know as of recording tonight.
Okay.
So this is I rank them in order from best record to worst record, and then we can see if we want to reorganize them, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So the Vancouver Canucks are on top with they're 9-2-1. The Leafs, which I was actually surprised that they're in second, they're 6-5-2. The Winnipeg Jets are 6-4-2, so they have one less game. So the Habs are 5-5-2. Senators 5-6, haven't been to overtime, surprisingly.
Huh.
The Flames are 4-7-1, and the Oilers 2-8-1. Down on the bottom, the Oilers.
Yeah.
So
They haven't won in overtime because a loss in overtime is still a loss, right? Or is it? No, is that not how that works? Or a win in overtime is still a win?
A win in overtime
Yeah.
is still a win. And
So it doesn't have. Maybe they just went to overtime and won. Because didn't they play overtime?
right, yeah,
against
the Senators,
Leafs?
you mean?
Yeah.
oh,
yeah,
that's,
that's
what you're
true.
saying, Yeah.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah,
Yeah.
So how
So,
do
yeah.
we rank them? Is that your ranking in that order?
that's not my
that's just-
personal ranking. That's the rank of their record, right?
Okay.
Currently,
So,
yes.
Yeah, currently. So, do you guys want to do it together, or do you guys individually want to do it?
What's he's asking for us to rank these Canadian teams 1 to 7. Is this in just like this season, how they're doing?
Yes, this
how we
season-
think they'll
Will it be
do
at the
this
end of the
year.
Most points at end of year. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So regular season best records, I guess, right?
Sure.
So yeah. So how do you guys want to do it? Do you guys each want to go through a ranking, or do you guys want to debate and
I've
reorganize
already
them?
got mine right here. I already
Yeah?
know what it's going to be. Yeah.
All right, let's start with you
off.
then.
Yeah, let's hear
It's
it.
definitely going to be the Canucks are definitely going to be better than the Leafs. It might be the Leafs, but I would say it could be the Leafs then the Habs. Unfortunately, crazily, they're crazy good. We never expected them to be this good. Then the Jets, then the Sens, then the Oilers, then the Flames is what I'm thinking.
Wow.
It
Okay.
might be Oilers, then Sens, then Flames. But
Did you skip the Canucks? Where'd you have them?
one.
First.
Oh,
Number
you
one.
did. Okay.
I think
You
they're
still
gonna be
think
number
they're
one. They're a fucking wagon.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this for me, I don't think the Canucks are going to sustain that. Is
Yeah,
my thing.
valid point. Yeah.
And not only because they can't hold it down, but it's what other teams in their division and other teams are going to be doing as well. Because I don't think the Flames and the Oilers are going to be this bad all season. They're in a rut for sure, and things are going not great. But there is lots of time to turn things around and make this a blip, a bump in the road. And that will start affecting the other teams around them and in their division. So I think the top team out of all the Canadian teams, most points at the end of this season, is going to be the Leafs. I think they're going to have the most
You
points
have
out of
so
all the
much
Canadian
faith.
teams.
The
I do.
passion. This guy's
I know.
radiating with the passion.
They got to figure things out, but I do think they will because it is early. Beyond that, though, I got to agree with you with the Habs being right up there. They're going to be, they are going to
This
be
is
up
just
there.
Canadian teams. They might not be like.
Yeah,
I think there could be a whole bunch of American
exactly.
teams up. I think the Leafs might be somewhere in a wild card team, and I think the Oilers might not make it, or they might just make it. I think the Jets will be a wild card team. You know what I mean? The Habs might be a wild card team, but I think like the Leafs would be, and I think the Canucks just solidify themselves a spot because this is just Canadian team versus Canadian team, not where they are in the rest of the league, but versus each other. I think the Canucks end up higher in their division. They also play in a shitty division besides Vegas, right? So they could end up in second, no problem.
Well, we'll see. Well, yes, and that's the thing. Yeah, for sure. I see that though. So I say, So Leafs, Habs, then we'll see the Canucks. I think at some point the Sens are going to pick things back up and figure things out. They're going to be up there. Then we'll see the Oilers because I think they're going to turn things around at some point too. And then the Jets and then the Flames.
All right.
I think the Jets crap right out, eh?
Yeah.
All right. I think that the Canucks are real. So I'm going to put them on top. Leafs second. Then I'm going to put the Senators third. So I would think that the Oilers are the third best team, but because the rocky start, and I don't think they're going to like quickly put it together here. It'll be a slow build. I think that I'm going to put the Sens there, then the Oilers, and then like the Habs. I don't think are for real, but like I'll put them ahead of the Jets and Flames, which you can just whichever order you want to put those two in. I think that they're both just not going to be great teams by the end of the year, but maybe Jets potentially because they have a better start, but I don't think that they're a for real team. So Jets, then Flames.
I agree that they could be wild card, is like you said, Webby. But I think Habs are going to be in the playoffs. I think Leafs will be in the playoffs. Canucks will be in the playoffs. But yeah, I think teams like the Jets, I think they'll fizzle right out, but could still end up being wild card. I don't know. I think we'll see, we could see a good amount of Canadian teams in the playoffs this year.
I honestly, I think that there's two that I think will make it, and then a couple fighting for it. And I think the Oilers and Sens are kind of right there. They can make it or not depending on their division.
That's more likely, yeah.
But I don't see the Habs making the playoffs. I think they're more of just below middle of the pack and kind of building still. Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is the year the Habs surprise everybody. I think it's like when the Leafs came in 2016 and made the playoffs, and everybody's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I think they might. They
and then won some
just
games
might.
too.
And they've got young talent, a lot of it. So we don't know right now. We're like, no, they can't but this isn't the team of last year. This isn't the team of 2 years ago, right? This is a new team. So I think a lot of that rides on Uri Slafkovsky's shoulders and how he performs too, right? If he's good, the team could probably make the playoffs. If he's not great or continues to not be great, then they might not make the playoffs just because of that. But if their young talent shows up and surprises, I think they're definitely somebody that could sneak in and take a wild card spot.
Yeah. True. We all put the Flames at the bottom, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Done.
I mean, it's a tire fire over there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not good.
All right. So we got a little bit
Jonathan
of news here for the end of our Canadian stuff. So the Flames have recalled Dustin Wolf from the AHL Wranglers. So
cool.
He's the Calgary Flames prospect goalie who a lot of people think that he's the goalie of the future there.
He's doing unreal in the AHL, is he not? Unreal?
Yeah, I don't have his numbers here, but yes.
He's 2-time MVP.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's won and been amazing at every level he's ever played at.
Give him the shot.
Yeah, but it's funny because Markstrom still has a massive contract in the way here. They may have gotten a great idea from the Oilers, and we'll get into this in a bit, but he's probably, I don't see them holding on to him if Dustin Wolf comes out of the gates good. Because I think like Vladar's like he hasn't been awesome either, but he's at least kind of like a serviceable goalie. But Markstrom now, I was calling for his bounce back this year, but it's just not there, and it might be a lot of the team in front of him. I think we'll see from if Dustin Wolf doesn't play good, like that might tell you something that the goalie's not the problem, right?
Yeah, if it is the team too, and you put a young guy in like that, you don't want to kill his confidence either. And that
Very
might be
true.
something they're kind of worrying about, is not just throwing him in, because it could be just throwing him into the fire and doing something not great for his career, but who knows?
Yeah.
At least give him a little shot. Call him up. I like that. I like to hear that.
I think that's why he wasn't here from day one, because I think
Right.
everyone thought that he was the best goalie, but you just don't want to, like you said, put him into that situation right off the hop. And
Yeah.
I don't know. This could be this could go either way for them. Like might turn out to be a really poor decision, but maybe it makes them just look a little bit better and gives them some hope at least. So
They got to try something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially just all that like name value on that team. It's hard to just like decide now that it's just not going to work at all.
Yeah,
so.
you got Huberdeau locked up for a long time. You got Uyghur locked up for a long time. You got Kadri locked up for a long time. You got Backlund locked up for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, however many long he signed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got this team for a while. Like something's got to change. And Markstrom's still got a long contract. Like,
Well, they had Huberdeau benched the other night, for the whole third period.
Yeah.
And
Trying to
some
get a
people say-
win.
Yeah, they're
they
saying
got
that
it, but yeah.
Yeah, but they could say, like, people are saying he was, like, potentially crying on the bench. Like, could see him shedding some tears.
I mean, that's definitely the biggest issue they have. Like, what's he make? Like 11 or something?
no, 10 and a half.
It's 10.
10 and a
right?
half?
10 and a half.
I mean, not way too much. Whether it's 10 and a half or
It's a-
11, just
It's a lot.
that's a boat anchor of a contract if this isn't going to turn around for them. Because no way anyone's going to
You
take
know who
that.
signed that contract?
Yeah, I know. And it's crazy. Like everyone kind of, some people say this. I'm not going to say it's the best thing, but every GM, if you look at their past team and how they left it, it's a pretty good mark on what quality of GM they are. And it's not looking great for Brad Treliving. Teams have been in shambles, right? And a lot of those contracts that, like, they're the problem over there, right? Now we're seeing that we're having some contract choices in Toronto. That's the problem too.
Yeah, like right off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he shouldn't do contracts. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
he's had a
what
pretty good
about
trade
the-
history, so maybe he can pull that one off.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
What about in oil land? What's the big news there, CP?
Yeah, so Leafs legend, and actually kind of like not one of these played 4 games for the Leafs, but like, a guy that we all loved and remember.
They're all legends.
Yeah, Jack Campbell has now been sent down, making his cap hit 3.85 while he's in the minors. So, like, that's rough. So they called up Pickard.
Hey,
Yeah,
Another Leaf
former
legend.
Avs legend.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
And,
think he ever played a
yes.
game for us. He was in our system, though.
Yeah. No game.
Maybe. I
I
don't
think
know.
he did. I feel like I've seen him on a fantasy.
I think he has, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
You think he played a game for the Avs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's a sad story. And I don't think anyone thought that the Jack Campbell contract was great when they signed it, but I don't think anyone thought that it would be just this, we'd get to this point, right? So,
Well, yeah, like that was crazy news. When I saw that come up, I thought that was kind of funny, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It's like you can't, like a car crash or something, or a train wreck, you can't really like look away, and it's just you kind of have to just keep watching. And
it's one of those like, haha, funny, like to me, because like he's such a good guy. We all loved him when he was in Toronto. So immediately I was just like, oh, for the Oilers, like, haha. But for Jack Campbell, oh man, like
it's
that's
tough.
rough.
yeah,
Absolutely.
oh man, that
So-
is actually so tough.
Yeah, I've heard some trade talks of potentially Jordan Binnington, maybe.
That would be
looking at,
so great.
going
I've
into Edmonton. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of names talking about Edmonton. A lot of these backup goalies too around the league that are doing really well, but don't really have like look at Varlamov in New York, right on the island,
and like not only a backup because they got a stud in Sorokin, right?
Yes,
like he was a great starter. Yeah,
yeah. Varlamov went in and got 2 shutouts in a row as a backup, and then like not 2 games in a row, but he played a game, got a shutout, and then Sorokin went in, played a few games, and he went in for his next one, got a shutout, and so there's guys like that. There's guys. What was another? I mean. Even Reimer, I think.
Yeah,
Reimer
in
is
Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they want to give up that up because Billy Husso's not always been the most reliable. But yeah, they're definitely getting a goalie. I can't imagine that like they're gonna go with Picard and Skinner, right? Like
no, that's
Skinner since his rookie breakout hasn't been reliable either. So
no. I've always said Skinner is not a winner.
Yeah.
You're a smart
man.
man.
Is that what you always said?
Always. Ever since we rolled them 4-0. And everyone was like, ooh, big Edmonton. And I said, sure. Okay.
That's great. All right. This totally has to do with the north of the blue line as well. So we'll keep it inside north of the blue line. We didn't get to it, so we'll skim through it. But we have to talk about this and get our thoughts on it. The Sens were docked a first-round draft pick by the NHL as punishment for their handling of the July 2021 Evgeny Dadonov trade with Vegas. Ottawa will give up its first-rounder in 2024, 2025, or 2026. Michael Andlauer says his first 30 days as Sens owner has exceeded his expectations by all aspects. The last 10 days, not so much. Quote, not been as much fun for me. It brought me back to earth. 3-game losing streak, 3 injuries, and 2 disturbing phone calls from the NHL. So all the stuff with Shane Pinto and now this. So also in that time, Pierre Dorian resigns as manager.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have talk of Peter Chiarelli coming in as the replacement in Ottawa. David Pagnotta tweeted that. Oh my God, it's hilarious. So it's very, very funny.
A bit of
who knows?
Dorian too, just not just resigned. Like it was a firing. You know, they didn't label it that.
Yeah, I guess he said he let him resign, but this was definitely a messy situation, and he was totally involved in that. And as the owner, what do you think coming into it? You buy something new, and you're seeing the guy that used to run this shit fucked it up like really bad. Yeah. So you should probably go. I don't want to sully your name, but you should probably go. Look at all this shit that's happening right now. That's just go on. No more summer of Pierre. It's now the fall of Pierre.
Yeah. It's the real fall for sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Michael Andlauer has a bunch more quotes. He says, sums up the Dadonov situation as such. Dadonov was traded to Vegas. A no-trade list was not provided, and Anaheim was on that no-trade list. That resulted in the Vegas-Anaheim deal 2022 deadline getting called off. So the original trade that happened was actually in 2021 between the Sens and Vegas. Then Vegas tried to deal him in 2022, and then that's when all the shit went down. They found out that he had no trade clause to Anaheim. Michael Andlauer says 2 teams wanted a pound of flesh coming out of the Evgeny Dadonov situation. And he also said the sellers saw the Dadonov situation as a non-issue when he was in talks to buy the Sens. He isn't happy to lose a first-rounder so long after everything played out. He says, why I inherited this is beyond me. There's no reason it should last that long. He always says, I always talk about accountability, but he adds that losing a first-round draft pick is a stiff penalty for the Sens stemming from the Dadonov issue, but acknowledges that the organization was at fault. It just wasn't him. And you know what they also did when he bought the thing? They drove up the price, and they also allowed another bidder to go in and continue bidding that they knew didn't actually have the financial backing to pay this money to do it.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
And they drove up the price on Michael Andlauer. They handpicked him. He wasn't even the highest bid. They just didn't think the person with the highest bid could actually come up with the money.
Wow.
So he got picked because he was part owner of the Montreal Canadiens. what a show over in Ottawa.
Really?
There's so much that goes on. Like when they played the Leafs, I'm like, oh yeah, like they have an actual hockey team that plays an actual game. What happens with them? I don't hear much about that.
Yeah, I hear about the back end and the...
Now the Boo Birds were out big time in Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
You
Big
heard
time,
Brady
yeah.
Tkachuk talking
Brady
about
Tkachuk,
that.
yeah.
He was. That's all. It's been all over the news waves, and like he says, oh, we don't like that. Basically, like, do you think it's right to boo the team when they're not doing good and they're trying to come back? Like, somebody made a good point tonight that said like it was on one sports radio network or another that said maybe what he should have said was like it's just really tough to have the momentum swing of a comeback or something like that when you guys are booing. So it'd be nice if they still cheered us on even when things were going bad, because we don't give up when you're booing. We're still trying, and it's hard to try especially when nobody's got our back out here in the stands, right? It sucks. So I guess that's kind of fair. It does suck to when you put it like that. But I mean, we deserve the right to boo, especially if you have a ticket. You paid a lot of money. You wanted a good show. They put on a shitty show. Boo! You suck. Throw a tomato.
I think
Boo
booing's
fart.
fine, like circumstantially. Like I don't mind like when the Leaf fans, like the other night, they booed a little bit after the end of a period, which like if it's a poor performance, then I don't mind. But I don't like
spoiled though.
I don't like prolonged booing while players are playing. I feel like how do you expect them to turn it around at all? You can let them know that you're not happy with how they played last period or at the end of the game, but not during game.
No, and because then it gets to a point of like you're not just letting them know you're not happy with their performance. You're actively being like, I hope you lose now.
Yeah,
and
you're
don't turn
negatively
this around, you loser. Like,
Yeah,
It's been 5 years of a rebuild in Ottawa. You can understand the fans booing there.
Yeah.
Right? Like in
Yeah,
Toronto,
TikTok,
we get playoffs every year. We got playoffs the first year they drafted Austin Matthews. Boom, they're good. Right? Boom! Like, I guess it was 2 or 3 years, like, we had 14 and 15 that were bad, made the playoffs in 13, right? So 14, 15 were bad. All of a sudden, bam, 16 we're in the playoffs. We got Mitch Marner and Zach Hyman and Austin Matthews, new Connor Brown. We got, right? It was great, and they made the playoffs. The Ottawa Senators have been rebuilding since the 2018 when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2017 against the Penguins when they won their last cup. And they haven't been good since, right? At 2018 they rebuilt, 2019 they rebuilt, 2020 they rebuilt, 2021 they rebuilt, 2022 they rebuilt. In 2023, I think it's time that the fans are allowed to boo, right? So there's two sides of the spectrum. Like,
yeah, it's very
been
different.
a long time.
If they had gotten a stud player like Matthews last year, but like they had Marner and Nylander and a bunch of players before, and they still weren't good. And actually, well, I guess
you mean
none of
Marner
them really
wasn't
made
there?
it yet. But
And Marner wasn't there, and Nylander, he had like 16 games or like 40 games, maybe over 2 seasons. Like, he hadn't played very much.
yeah, that's my point. Is that like even though they had all these good players, it wasn't until they got the star number one centerman, which we thought maybe they had gotten lucky with Tim Stützle, but he might not be quite like a stud, like a McKinnon, a Matthews, a McDavid, like a Jack Hughes.
He's good. He's really
good. Yeah.
Really good.
But like they have all the other players, I feel like they're just missing like the leader, which I mean,
Not
it's tough
Brady
to get,
Tkachuk.
obviously, but
You don't think that's Brady
what about
Tkachuk?
Brady?
I mean, he's a good
captain.
leader of the room, but to lead a team, like the tough minutes, I don't know. A center, and he's a winger, which I always feel like it has to be a centerman to really lead a team. But I think they're just
Bill
missing
Kilmacar.
kind of that one thing.
Yeah. I think they're going to find it and turn it around. Sens are going to be a good team. It's going to suck when the Sens and the Habs are both good. And Leafs better keep up. They better not fall back because, that's how hockey works. Teams go up and teams come down, and teams go up, and then there's still Boston. They just stay up here, but then teams go up and teams go down. And
They've got a lot of guys too, like locked up for a long time. So we'll see this crew like grow together, and like they'll get better and better each year. It's not going to happen overnight. And I do think that they'll turn it around to a certain extent. from what it has been.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to finish the season with a negative record.
No.
No.
Yeah, so there we go. All right, well, that was north of the blue line. Why don't we jump into what the puck is happening around the rest of the league? We'll cruise through a couple of storylines and see if we hit on any conversation here. So
Sweet.
Minnesota Wild made a few trades. They traded Kalen Addison to the San Jose Sharks for a 5th-round pick and Adam Raska. I don't think Raska is a player that they were getting back. I think they were just dumping Kalen Addison. And I think that they wanted that so that way they could justify giving a 7th-round pick for Zach Bogosian from the Tampa Bay Lightning. So they've gotten bigger and tougher on the back end. And we are going to have a Minnesota Wild insider on the cast, I think in like 2 weeks. It's on the 16th or the 23rd, one of those two shows.
Nice.
Mickey Tui is going to come on, and she is a Minnesota Wild writer for Inside the Rink, and we will definitely ask her about that stuff. But I already thought Minnesota was a big and strong team, and now they're just going to get bigger and stronger. I watched like the comments, and the comments of the fans are like, "Yeah, well, we get pushed around for being too small." That's not how we talk about you up here. They're like they're very big and tough team.
So true. That's how I see them.
Yeah, they might want someone that is just fits in that role as well with them, right? Like kind of blends in.
Yeah, Kalen Addison's really a offensive guy, power play specialist kind
big
of guy.
Big time, yeah.
More than doing the thing that Zach Bogosian does well, right? So
yeah.
Next on worth noting that Zach Bogosian had a limited no trade clause as part of the contract, which included a 21-team no trade list. So unless he waived his clause specifically for this trade, Minnesota Wild would have been one of the teams he wanted to play for. He only had 10 that he had on the list. Reich obviously plays for one. So one of the 10 teams he wanted to play for, he got dealt to. So I guess he's probably not too upset about it. And here's some news from another Leafs legend. With his NHL contract now officially terminated, Andreas Johnson has signed with CJAI.CA until 2027. So he's over in Sweden now playing.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought Andreas Johnson was going to be somebody when he was at Marley. I remember watching the Calder Cup playoffs when Andreas Johnson joined the team, and he was a rocket. He looked really, really good. I thought he was going to make the NHL and be a guy, but he's just never really stuck anywhere.
So funny how that happens. It's happened so many times where some guys just are really good at that level at AHL and can look like, maybe a star or even like not. They put up good numbers and then they come up to the NHL and just can't find that place or can't find that role or they just don't stick, whatever it is. It's funny.
The Dennis Malgin effect. That's what we'll call that one.
That's good.
Just lights it up down there. But
yeah, there's quite a few guys who you can say they're there was baseball's got a really good one. They called them quadruple A players.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
quad A's.
A quadruple A player because they're way too good for triple A, but they just can't hack it in the MLB.
Right.
So, and that's kind of the same in hockey of guys who are really good in the AHL but can't quite hack it in the NHL. So, Seattle Kraken have recalled Shane Wright from the AHL Coachella Valley, so he's going to get a chance to play in the NHL now. Shane Wright's supposed to be taken first overall, was a Kingston Frontenac.
Yeah.
He ended up going 4th overall instead, which with Logan Cooley kind of seems to be the right pick if you're looking at it right now. Uri Slafkovsky seems to be wrong, and I think that who had the second pick was in New Jersey. I think they just wanted their guy, right?
Yes.
I think they just picked. They wanted that defenseman. They saw who he was. I don't care. We only get one first-round pick. If he might be 7th overall, he's our favorite. We don't want another star forward. We want a star defenseman, and he's going to be a star. So they picked him. But Logan Cooley is looking like the stud of that draft. He's been playing major NHL minutes. And now we've got Shane Wright coming from that draft year, and Uri Slafkovsky, who was hurt last year, but he's been having a crack with the Montreal Canadiens, just not been having very much luck, we'll say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say as much luck as that he's kind of the archetype that takes longer to get going. Kind of like Quentin Byfield, and actually we're going to talk about him later. But Quentin Byfield's kind of similar. Big guy, big body, and it's hard for those guys for whatever reason to transition into the NHL. And I think that Slafkovsky might be a really great player in 2 or 3 years, but he probably has to hit that 200 game mark to really make a difference on their team.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. All right, well, that is what the puck is happening around the league right now. We will run through a little bit of fantasy, and maybe we'll answer a question, and that will be the show. So listening on Split the Defense podcast, why don't we go right into it now?
All right, so keepers and sleepers. This week on our fantasy, so Jordan and I have made a big trade.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Huge.
And yeah, like too big almost. So I have slightly regrettably given away Marner, Makar, and Barkov for McDavid and Riley, Morgan Riley.
Um,
So regrettably, you say. I mean,
I kind of said it out there. Yeah.
He offered. Who was your original offer? Because I can't even remember. I was like, nope, and flipped him. I took Barkov, or I took Marner, I took somebody I can't remember. I was like, that. I don't want this guy. No, it was somebody else instead of Marner.
Yeah, I don't really remember either. Yeah, I don't think I would not do it. Like, I don't regret it to the amount of like I would want to reverse it, because it is part of like my mentality of making my team smaller and better. And so it's a bit of a test, I think. I've never had McDavid, and normally when you have to draft McDavid, the rest of your team is a little bit, like it's not as good. Right. Just because of the way that the drafts work, like that your next picks are so far down the table. And so that's something that I think like you felt this year, like multiple years, Webby, right?
Every
3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Every year I've ever played.
Yeah, I'm kind of testing that mentality a little bit where, I wanted McDavid, and I tried to swap him for Matthews, just wanting like one of those best centermen in the league. And yeah, we're going to see how it goes, but it might not work out in my favor.
So I looked it up. I did actually, because I never got the other. I can't even remember who it was. I didn't look that up, but we talked about this at the very beginning of fantasy, like the day that we drafted. I told you that I would trade you just McDavid for Marner, Makar, and Barkov, and you wouldn't do it. And it was just McDavid. That was the deal, 3 for 1. And then you asked for Riley too, and I was like, you know what? I can do that. I can literally justify that. I looked it up, and even the trade value, like if you in a fantasy trade value thing, I was like 100 points in trade value over. Like, I don't know exactly understand like how they measure it, but it was like 89 points to like 160 or 170 points. It was like almost 100.
It's almost like a 3 versus 1 like stat, so it's kind of hard. Like you have to account for 3 players that I add somehow, and then you would add those into that stat, and then it would be fair. I still think that you're potentially on top. Like I have to really
but it's not like my
on
3
some picks.
It's not like my 3 players. Like not like my 2 players, they canceled out, and I got a little bit of extra value with the 3rd player. It's like this fantasy says I won that trade huge, and you know what's great? All their fantasy group thinks I won it too, so I feel good because it's been pretty harsh on me as a group for being such a heavy Leafs fan.
Yeah,
so it's nice to get a win there.
Right? Yeah. I'm not upset about it anyway, but yeah, I think there's clearly like it's all gonna just depend. But yeah, I think like for now you're definitely the winner, but. Not that I want to go back on it,
Yeah. I mean, the way I see it, like if you look at it stacked up, like the defense for the forward, so you're going Makar for Riley. I'd take Makar 100% every time. And then Marner and Barkov for McDavid, which that's a pretty good 2 for 1.
There's your points and your face-offs all in one. Boom, taken care
Yeah,
of.
yeah. You're getting lots of points still. You're getting face-offs.
The two of Barkov and Marner should equal the amount of points that McDavid gets. And then I get the face-off wins from Barkov because he's a monster. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
it equals it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who are must pickups this week?
Must pickups. Quentin Byfield is my first one. Ted.
Picked him up.
Yep, already got him. I kind of like at the beginning of the week, he's been on a heater, and I always talk about the 200 game mark and he's just getting to that point. Bigger guy who had troubles really producing. He always found his spot. Actually, he did bounce back and forth a bit in the minors. He had a couple stints, but he's really looking like he's broken out, and like he is massive, like 6'5", like 220 or something like that.
Woof, yeah.
And putting
I
the
didn't
puck in
realize
the
he was
net.
so big.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that either, honestly.
Oh yeah,
The NHL is
He
going to be
huge.
crazy with guys like Quentin Byfield and Tage Thompson.
Tage Thompson, I was just gonna say, yeah,
The monster.
Big, skilled guys up front.
very big, yeah.
Nico.
And my second one is former Leaf legend Eric Gustafsson,
Hey.
who in the offseason he made his way to the Rangers, and then now he's on the Rangers' top power play, and he had I think
What?
it's
What, 'cause
I
Adam
never
Fox is
remember
hurt?
to write these stats down, but I think it's 4 points in 3 games or something like that. He got another point tonight, so he's on a heater. So until that
Got him on the
fails,
power play.
yeah,
Huge.
that's a guy to have.
Is
That's
he
always
owned in
something to
our
look
league?
at.
Do you know how owned he is in every league? No.
I think he's roughly like around like I think 30 to 50%.
Yeah.
Very like I can quickly
Just mid player. Just mid.
26%
in our
owned.
league.
26.
Yeah, nobody owns him in our league. So
He's
Yeah,
a free agent
so-
in our league. Okay.
Yeah, he should be in most leagues. So
Yeah.
good one to have at least for the time being.
All right.
Okay.
Who do you got in the watch list?
Yeah, so watch list. So these aren't necessarily pickups, other than one that
Keep your eye on it.
yeah, I've actually already picked up one of these guys because I
Yeah.
just can't wait. But so there's 3 goalies that are kind of potentially getting a shot at a number 1 spot. Joel Hofer, who's St. Louis's replacement for Binnington, most likely. Dustin Wolf, who might be the starter in Calgary, as we said. And Pyotr Kochetkov, who now that Freddie Anderson, he had a procedure and he plays for Carolina. He had a procedure done, and there's been some blood clotting issues, and he's now out indefinitely.
Yeah.
So that's not
That's
good
scary
for.
stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't happy to see that news, but Pyotr Kochetkov has been kind of the guy waiting in the wings for something, either someone to move on or retire or injuries, and he's getting that spot. And
Yeah.
over the course of the last 2 years, he's been probably their best goalie. Freddie Anderson has been the starter because he just always has been. But as soon as, like, when Freddie's been out, which has been more often than not, Kochetkov has done great filling in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ranta, I mean, this season hasn't been amazing. Like, doesn't look like he's
Ranta's-
okay.
He's always just okay.
Yes.
He's the perfect backup goalie. And so I don't think they look at him as the replacement for Freddie. I think he's going to
isn't he
still
like
be the
38,
backup.
dude?
Right.
Is he?
Yes.
He's getting up
He's not
there.
young.
Auntie
Yeah.
Ranta's 38?
Well, 38. I don't know. We should maybe look that up
I'm looking
quickly.
it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd love to know that. I would have thought he was like not on the younger side, but
34.
34.
Yeah,
Really?
he's
yeah.
not a
So-
young. So, I mean,
No,
like, he's
no.
not,
I would have thought
he's not
like
the goalie of
30.
the future. Was my whole point. No, he's
Yeah,
not
no.
30. I knew he
Yeah.
was in his like later 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kachekhov's in his young 20s. And
Yeah. And he's crazy, man. That guy fights and does cool stuff. Like he's a fun to watch goalie.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he's a fighter. Got
Yeah.
thrown out of a minor game. And,
Yeah.
oh my
he's
god,
done
could
wild
Chekhov
stuff.
versus Bennington would be so much fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bennington
Yes.
would get tuned.
Oh,
I hope
big
he
time.
ends up on. I hope he ends up in Edmonton. That'll just be a shit show.
Yeah.
But then you have your last one here, Patty Kane. So I've been looking to pick up Patty Kane. I'm going to steal your thunder here, but you can't put him on the IR right now because he's
You
not.
cannot. No.
He's not in one of
NA,
those slots.
right?
So you have to give up a slot on your team to put him there. But Nick Ehlers has been so bad on my team that I'm considering it.
Yeah, I'm famous for picking these guys up way too early. Like Evander Kane, when he got traded to Edmonton, like I had him on my team already for like a month, like just eating that spot. And it all just depends on what point of the season it is and where you are in the standings. So like when I did that, like I think I was second or third, and you're okay with dropping to fourth and fifth if that's what it takes, if you get like a really impact player. But yeah, so Patrick Kane's he's now narrowing down his selection of teams this week. We're still probably a good month from him actually playing games.
Yeah.
That would be my estimation. But as soon as he signs with a team, you can now put him on your injured list. And then, he's not affecting your roster. So right. I think we're all going to probably have a little bit of a race when the news comes out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all about who wants to
staying up till
take
3.
them first, right? Like, it might end up being a great idea, or it might end up you lost a couple weeks and Pat Kane actually doesn't end up being who we think he might return to being. Because prior to his injury, not necessarily like a really valuable player. He only really provides assists and shots are like his big categories, and then he minorly fills like the goal category, and power play points actually is a big one for him too. But if you're in a league like ours and categories, like you got to think about that where half the board isn't being touched, and if he's only a 60-point player now, that's not a guy that is on a roster, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
No. It is a gamble, but someone's going to take it.
So after how far we are in now, you have on here
this is
team
week
check-in.
4.
How are we feeling about our teams? Why don't we start with Ted?
Not great. I like a lot of the players on my team, but the results have not been good each week. I don't know if it's just the timing. Like if I had been matched up against someone else, maybe I would have won. That kind of thing obviously always factors in. That's what I'm worried about if I make playoffs is what if I just have a bad week and my team's, just not rolling that week and then you're out. So I feel like that's what's been happening, but my biggest struggle has been goaltending. I can't buy a goaltending win. Like every goalie I put in loses or like just I can't get a win. I've not gotten a win yet this season. Unreal.
CP?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with the goaltending thing. I think I've lost every goaltending category so far. I really need Vasilevsky to come back and be good because he's just been like sitting on my bench, and I have no other goalie other than I picked up Kochekov in one league. I picked up Dustin Wolf in another league that I'm in where I'm having even worse goalie problems. We won't talk about that one, but I feel pretty good about my team. I like the players. I like that I have room for movement, like with picking up players now. I felt a little bit stifled in like where I didn't want to drop people and I wanted to pick guys up. So
hate that.
For the point in the season, I feel pretty good about it, but not as strong as maybe some of my teams in the past have been.
What about you, Webby?
I'm not thrilled with the pick that I made for Miro Heiskanen. I wish I didn't make that pick. There were other players available that I wish I would have picked at that time that I wouldn't be able to trade for right now.
Yeah.
But like after that trade with CP, I can't complain because my team was really set up to be like top end heavy, the way that you want your team to be, CP, and it wasn't working for me. I was losing week after week, and I needed more balance, more guys playing on nights, and in like not like just bets. I needed more sure things. Like Barkov's a sure thing, Marner's a sure thing. Now the only sure thing I really had was McDavid, and he was hurt for those last couple of weeks, right? So like, I think my team looks a lot better now after the trade than before the trade. Gives me an actual number one defenseman, Windkar.
The number one defenseman.
Yeah,
balances out, and then balances out my forwards. So I'd say I'm happier now than I was after the draft, for sure.
Nice.
Definitely made some drops too, and like picked up some guys. Like Like we traded those two guys, and then I dropped two other guys off my team that day.
Yeah. You're never going to draft the perfect team. Like,
No, I dread the draft. I look back on it I'm like, wow, why didn't I take this guy here? I could have had Hill. I could have had Aiden Hill. And I think I drafted some other goalie like an idiot. Dumb.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yep, that's how it
All
goes.
Right. Well, that was Keepers and Sleepers. Thanks for all that info, CP. Now we know what to do going forward next week. And we will do that again next Thursday. Why don't we media the media and get the heck out of here?
Yeah. We got a question from Lanny Bender. Guy's got a great handle. Lanny Bender.
That is
sick
a great
name,
handle,
dude.
Yeah.
So he says redraft, okay? Is Easton Cowan top 10? Is he going top 10 pick? What do you think, Webby?
I think that it's too early to tell. Like really, really early to tell. But like I think he would have been on more people's lists. Like, say all these kids played this year in the junior and then went, and he was like gonna get drafted. I think he'd be up top. Yeah, for sure. Like looking at him going down and just owning and also being a dog. He's not soft. He's an absolute dog, and then putting up points too in the O. Like I think he'd definitely have more looks. Top 10, I don't know, top 20, I'd say for sure. He would have been taken. He would have been taken before he got to the Leafs.
Yeah, move up for sure. What do you think, CP?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's tough to tell, but I would think that he's at least the value of where they would picked him, and I would say maybe more of a middle of the range. There's still a lot of guys in that draft that are like pretty good bets and could potentially be really good players. So. Off the top of my head, I kind of forget. There was a lot of guys though between like 10 and 20 where I like would have preferred, and it's hard to say if my decision has changed. But I'd say that I'm really happy though with where he's picked. Maybe not quite a top 10 though.
Yeah, it's interesting with hindsight for sure, because obviously before the draft he was not in the range of where he got drafted, and then he ended up there. But now we're saying I think he would maybe end up higher than where he was picked. Now that we have this information and know, like, he kind of blossomed at that time and started really making a name for himself.
He was only good in that second half of last year. You're right. He just blossomed.
Yeah, that's it. So maybe I would say maybe not top 10, but definitely moved up from even where he was. So moved up from the pre-rankings, and then moved up from, if we did a redraft, moved up from his actual draft position. I think so, yeah.
Right on. All right. Well, that was Media the Media. Thank you, Lanny Bender, for the question. We appreciate questions coming into the show. If anybody has a question for the show that listens to the show and wants to ask us, just go on our social media, literally ask anywhere. We have notifications coming to us all the time. We'll find it, and we'll put you on the show. So thanks, Lanny, once again. Thank you for listening. Thanks, boys, for joining me. Thank you for listening. And once again, Split the Defense. We are out. We'll be back on Tuesday. Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
You've been listening to
Split the Defense.
where Jordan Webster, Ted Evans, and Craig Pearce talk about the NHL and all things hockey.
Split the Defense.
Can be found wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. It's also broadcasted on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, and online at CJAI.CA.